Hello everyone and welcome to the program today, 7 Politics. I am Austin Beatrice. Well, a lot of things to be discussed as long as the 2023 general election is concerned. You know that, of course, campaigning is starting on the 28th of this month, that is September. So many crises within political parties, especially the People's Democratic Party. The economy of Nigeria is facing also some kind of a dire strait, how we can get it right, and also ASU strike also, pending strike between the federal government and ASU have been on ground recently. An industrial court has ordered ASU to go back to class. But ASU seems to say, no, the election is coming up. The students constitute approximately 71% of the voter population, and these students have been at home for close to probably more than 7 months now. What could be the fate and implication of all of these on the election? These are some of the issues we're going to be looking at today to get it straight. Let's go on a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we dissect these issues on the table. Thanks and welcome. Thanks for staying with us. Welcome back. I have with me today in the studio to discuss all of these a political analyst and a public affair analyst, Mr. Lanre Oluyede. Mr. Lanre, thanks for joining me in the program today.
It's my pleasure.
All right, let's get it straight. Nigeria seems to be going through a lot of difficult times now. The election is starting. Election is on the 25th of February. Campaign is starting few days from now.
Next week, Wednesday.
It does seem like the 2023 election seems to be a special one, isn't it?
Sure.
What is your thought on this election? Because we've been having electioneering period since the inception of democracy, but there seems to be a uniqueness in the 2023 general election.
Yeah.
Why do you think like that?
Thanks for having me once again. The 2023 elections stands out for quite a number of reasons, and there are some factors that will make the 2023 election a watershed in the history of Nigeria. First, 2023 election, we're going to be having a situation whereby we are not nobody is contesting against the incumbents, because the president will be retiring to his dowry by May next year. So you have people coming on a clean slate to come and contest on a level playing field. So it's not as if they are content, although you can say we are having a ruling party,
of course,
for the fact that there is no incumbent president that is contesting also make it a unique. Now, one other factor that makes the 2023 election a unique one is the fact that for the very first time in the political history of Nigeria, particularly since the inception of the Fourth Republic in 1999, we're having what is called a third force. You understand? We're having, because election has always been a kind of two-horse race. So the electorate have been left with the choice of choosing, the option choice of choosing between the angel and the devil. But now we have a third entity in between. We don't know what to call it now. Whether we should call it.
Well, you have actually called him a third force.
Yeah, well, here you understand. So it's not just coming to come and add to the number. It's coming with a kind of a dynamism that we have never seen in our political circle for quite a long time now. And this has actually put the conventional prospective candidates or winners of election on their toes, because they now see that wow, if there's any slip from any one of us, somebody else will take it. You understand? So, coupled with the fact that our electoral process is now being developed, and then it's now being taken away gradually from the grips of these political gladiators who usually, hijack it and then manipulate it for their own selfish interests. Substantially, to a very substantial essence, our electoral process is quite difficult for anybody to easily manipulate at its own whims and caprices like we used to have before. But that is not to say there are still no rooms for manipulations. So that is why this 2023 election is quite different from the previous elections that we have been having. And aside from this factor, there are also other factors that, as we continue this our conversation, that we will be highlighting that makes the 2023 election a quite unique one.
All right, it's actually very interesting. I don't know. A lot of people have said that we might have a replication of the 1993 election. Are you seeing it in that way? In fact, recently I read something and someone was saying if care is not taken, right? Because there have been this, carefulness to have a divisive nation because of, especially now that the campaign is about starting. So there's a caution against making inciting statement. So you hear talks on probably, if we are not careful, the military could take over. Are you seeing it in that way? A replication of 1993 election, where of course we saw this massive support by Nigerians, towards MK Abiola that's late now. Yet it didn't turn out to be the people's will. There are thoughts that we might have that in 2023. You're a political analyst. Are you seeing it towards that direction?
No, not at all. 2003 election is a very sharp departure.
1993 election.
I am telling you that 2023 election will be a very sharp and clear departure from what obtained in 1993 election. Now, first is the fact that no politician of this present state can cast himself or herself in the mold of MK Abiola. Abiola was an exceptional political colossus. He was an exceptional figure that is being seen across the length and breadth of Nigeria, regardless of ethnic, religion, or political party background. And we do not have such kind of a candidate or such kind of a personality in this present election. The only person that comes close to it is Tinubu, and Tinubu, you cannot compare Tinubu with MK Abiola.
So you're saying that Tinubu could be closely matched to Abiola. Is that what you're saying?
No, I said it's a far departure. It's a far cry.
All right.
It's a far departure. You cannot compare him with Tinubu. The only similarity that we have in this election is the fact that Tinubu decided to settle for a Muslim vice presidential candidate. That is the only comparison that you might want to make between 2023 elections and the 1993 election. But all other parameters are quite different. Okay. And to allay your fear, Nigerian democracy has gone beyond that which will give room for military takeover. I am telling you, our democracy has been consolidated. And then, if you see most nations where the military take over, they actually take over between whether the first 5 or the first 8 or first 10 years of a democratic rule. We have spent close to 22 or 23 years now. We have gone past that level. The military has no role to play in our politics or in our governance anymore. And Nigerian politicians and the electorate and even the citizens, they have this consciousness. So the issue of a military takeover is not even there. And let me tell you, the 2023 election is going to be clear, it's going to be incisive, and going to be decisive. And there's going to be a lot of upsets and there's going to be a lot of shock. You understand? Because people think that it's going to be used business as usual. Now, when NSAS protest came, people thought it's one of those protests that will come and fizzle away. Nobody thought we could see it in that light. In the light we saw it, it was a tsunami. And it was just like, and that one it's as if we're even scratching the surface. We pray that we do not have something similar to that again, because the people have learned their lesson. They now know where they made mistake. So if we are going to be having anything similar to NSAS protest, it's going to be brutal and it's going to be, I don't know, maybe indefinite or whatever. So that has got to tell you that the consciousness of people has arisen, so much so that people can no longer be wavered or be pushed into one side or this other direction like it used to be. Before, you have political gladiators who come to the scene and say, okay, this is the direction I want people to go, this direction. Now people have their own consciousness alive. They know the direction they want to go. They want to take their own destiny into their own hands. So to answer straight your question, the 2023 election is a quite and sharp departure from 1993, and the only similarity that they try to recreate was going for a Muslim ticket, which at the end of the day, it might even be their own albatross. You understand?
All right. Let's see how it plays. Let me bring the ANAP opinion poll that happened a few days ago. Of course, we saw that that of course it's not even though some political parties have come out to debunk that, saying that that cannot be taken for a pragmatic thing, since you cannot because the error margin is not made clear. But some political analysts will tell you that is a test of what the 2023 election could turn out to be. We saw Peter Obi leading with about 21%, according to the opinion poll. Then Atiku and Tinubu almost had 13%. Then Kwankwaso was a no-go area in the poll. Bringing the three presidential candidates into bear. What? Because you talked about the dynamics in Nigerian politics. How do you see it playing out in comparison with the poll? Does the poll really suggest, the opinion poll really suggest what is likely to happen after the conduct of the election?
You see, exit poll or election survey polls are commoners in electionary period all over the world. They are conducted by reputable and credible pollsters, institutions.
Mind you, it's of course, some of those who have come up to debunk that have said that it's a social media of a thing, because somebody will ask a question: were you conducted in the course of the poll?
So I was going to come to that. Okay. Like I said, it is not new. We've seen it. It happens in America, in London, New York Times, London Times. Whenever electioneering is close like this, they used to conduct they call it election survey, which is either pre-election survey or post-election survey. And these election surveys are usually conducted for three principal reasons. Number one is to possibly postulate what the possible outcome of the election is likely to be. Number two is to observe or what is likely to be the voting pattern. And then the third one is to establish the sentiments that are likely to drive the pattern of election. You understand? Those are the critical reasons why election surveys or exit polls are actually conducted. In this case of ANA poll, conducted by a foundation owned by the former chairman of Stanbic IBTC Bank, Peter Atedu.
Yeah,
Peter Sada Atedu. You understand? Although they have not really made public the modalities, the methodology that were used. That is the first thing that should come forth when you're writing a research report. You come up with the you need to come up with the modalities, the methodology. So the essence is that there's something they call in science generalization. When you do a research, you need to get to a level of a generalization. That is when your research results will be accepted. That is, you make available your modalities so that other people can use your modalities, your parameters to conduct the same research, and if the same outcome is got, then your outcome has been established. You understand?
So invariably you are saying that the poll suggests what is likely to happen.
To some extent, the reason why we needed to see the modalities that was adopted in conducting this research, so that we will know the number of what is the volume of the sample that were used to conduct, and how widespread are they. Because you see the results of this election, for example, in breaking down the result of that poll, the southeast where Peter Obi come from, he got expectedly he got 63%. 63%. While other candidates like Tinubu in his own stronghold of Southwest were given 18%. Even in the Northeast, where he has picked his vice president from, he also got 18%. And then the other candidates too were also got a sparsely distributed percentage. So people needed to know whether these figures were not just computed with somebody sitting down somewhere, and then you understand. But
so that means the poll cannot be taken for a whole.
You cannot take it for a whole.
Yeah. All right, let's quickly talk about the rankling that's going on in the People's Democratic Party. Recently, Wike, of course, who have been like a bride in among political parties, have decided to withdraw from the Atiku campaign. There have been this internal crisis for a long time, and seeking for a resolution, but it does seem like the PDP are not ready to resolve that issue. Are you seeing this as a threat to the People's Democratic Party chance of winning the election? You are an analyst. Tell us, what is the implication of Wike's withdrawal?
You see, I have said this at a forum like this some time ago. I said, what PDP needs to do is to do a post-mortem. PDP after Wike, PDP without Wike, they need to do something like a scenario building, because it was all obvious from the outset that from the demeanor of Governor Wike, it was made up. I knew it from the outset. I knew no matter the entreaties, no matter the emissary they sent, no matter the sacrifice they made, Wike's mind was made up, and then the parties should just begin to do a scenario building of what would be the chances of PDP outside Wike or without Wike.
Because Wike is insistent on Ayu must go.
And that is a small...
And the party has come up to say that if Ayu must go, of course the next person who is taken up will still be from the north. Because Wike is talking about inclusion, balance in the party, equity in the party. But the presidential candidate have said that even if Ayu is going, the next person who is taking over the seat will still be from the northeast. Yes. But now Wike has decided to withdraw. So those are the things that are happening. What is your take generally on?
That's what I'm trying to. I'm trying to build to build a scenario for you. So with Wike's withdrawal, Wike didn't withdraw alone. He has his own
his allies,
that they work together. But the question is, how much convincing can Wike do to convince the people of the South, where he actually belongs, not to vote for the PDP? Because we know over time, since 1999, the South has been the stronghold of the PDP. You understand? If you look at it from that perspective. And also in this election, Wike has candidates. He has governorship candidates that he must return. He has a House of Reps candidates that he must return. He has a senatorial candidates that he must return. Otherwise, his own political structure and political footings will also be uprooted, and that will leave him vulnerable. You understand? These people are...
So it's like shooting himself at the leg right now.
Even people that are supporting him, some of the governors are also seeking re-elections. Somebody like Governor Seyi Makinde is seeking a re-election. Is he going to ask people not to vote for the PDP? So it's a dicey situation. The question is, it's a give and take. The decision of Wike to withdraw, number one, is going to, to a certain extent, is going to affect the PDP, and whatever the PDP lose is a plus for Obi. The third part, this thing falls in the South. So
it's really a tough time for the People's Democratic Party.
Very tough time, because in fact they are like in a cul-de-sac. They find themselves in a cul-de-sac, like in a dead-end situation, because they cannot accede to Wike's demand, and at the same time they cannot afford to have Wike go.
But I think the PDP have said, well, damn it to Wike, since they've decided to move ahead, because the zonal headquarters in the south have been taken away from Rivers State to Akwa Ibom State. Well, but quickly, let's touch, before we round up, let's just round up the economy. the federal government recently have come out to say that they are, or in 2023, they'll be leaving behind a debt of over 60 trillion, about 6.9 trillion naira.
60 trillion naira.
60.9 trillion.
Yes.
That shows that whoever is coming to succeed the government of President Muhammad Buhari has a lot to do. Right now, Nigeria seems to be in a dire strait. Of course, we need a miracle at this time. What is the implication of that to the new incoming government? Are you saying that kind of course, is not a science rocket kind of a thing, but Nigeria seems to be in a state where we need this kind of a miracle. What is the implication of that kind of debt profile on the incoming government?
I will not lie to you, it's going to be a very tough one for the incoming government, because as it is now, revenue is dwindling very badly. We move from 2 million barrel per day production of crude oil to paltry 907,000, and the rest of our oil production are now being stolen, unaccounted for. So the revenue that are being generated from the crude oil, which is our economic mainstay, is actually nosedive a lot, so much so that we can no longer fund our budget. The budget of 2023 budget is proposed to be 19.7 trillion naira, and already we have a deficit of 11.3 to 12 trillion naira. So the government is now proposing to borrow additional 11.3 trillion naira.
And in fact, Buhari recently have told the federal National Assembly to approve the promissory note of about 402 billion.
Yeah, that is to fund the deficits in the budget. And then this is a budget that has no capital expenditure. That means there's no going to be construction project or infrastructure in 2023. So what we're going to be using that money for is, number one, to pay salaries. That is recurrent expenditure, which is about 8 trillion naira. That is on the upward of 1 trillion naira, because in 2022 the overhead is about 7 trillion. For 2023 it is projected to be 8 trillion naira. Then the rest will now be used to pay subsidy. Subsidy payment as at this year alone is about is in the neighborhood of about 6 to 7 trillion naira. You understand? Which country? So there's no money to even use to do projects, capital projects, developmental projects. So it's going to be a tough one for the government, that they need to bring on their thinking cap right from their very first day in the office and think, how do we get money, and how do we because I laughed when I had the president yesterday begging the international community to give Nigeria another debt cancellation, or probably they should suspend debt servicing. You understand? Which country does that? The question is, the money that you keep borrowing, what do you do with it? Can we successfully or transparently account for the monies that we have borrowed? This money are being borrowed to pay subsidy that goes into private pockets, a situation where oil marketers come with an empty invoice and write any amount of volume of fuel, no system to monitor amount of fuel that is being imported. So any importer, and these are close allies of people in government, they are working in cahoots, they will go and say, okay, I have brought about let's say 43 million or 44 million liters of a PMS, and then they will approve subsidy, and that is how our subsidy keep rising. You understand? And so, and apart from that, one individual can just look and then decide to steal like 109 billion naira, like we are in the case of the Accountant General, and all those cases of a corruption that has not been brought to closure. No, they have not been arrested. If they have been arrested, they have not been arraigned. If they have not been arraigned, they have not been convicted. If they have been convicted, they have not been jailed.
Quickly to round up the program, you have been analyzing these issues for a long time. We are seeing 3 candidates in the foreplay. I mean, the forefront of politics ahead of 2023 election. Which of these candidates, in 30 seconds, do you think can solve this problem and even have the chance to win that in the first place?
Well, you are putting me on a hedge. You understand? But I will just look at based on what they have presented before us. But I think the odds seems to favor Peter Obi, given the situation we find ourselves. And I will tell you the reason why. We need somebody that has a prudent financial management, skill. Somebody who is not flamboyant, because one of the albatross on our neck is the flamboyant lifestyle of our government officials and the cost of running government. So all the two other candidates like Tinubu and Atiku, they are still going to continue that lifestyle. That lifestyle is not going to sustain us. We need somebody who is prudent, who has a different mentality, somebody who can decide to wear t-shirts and jeans, who will not need to wear the barbariga, who will not need to go with like hundreds and 100 and 1008, and the 1008s too will also have their own PAs and essays, and they all go in fleets of SUVs, that is leading to a lot of bleeding and hemorrhage into our economy.
All right, thank you so much. I think we have to stop here. It's nice to have you on the program today. I've been speaking with a public affair analyst and a political analyst, Mr. Lanre Oluyide. Thanks for joining us in the program today. We'll have you some other time so that we can dissect these issues properly. It's unfortunate time couldn't allow us to do that. That's all we can take for the program today, 7 Politics. Join us sometime next week. I'll bring you engaging conversation. Thank you.